Good afternoon to all. Welcome to the final day, the last session of the 5-day FDP on academic writing. So today we have with us Professor Anil Kumar Agarwal. He is a current head and mechanical engineering department and professor in charge for training and placement cell. Also the associate dean of faculty affairs in Indian Institute of Technology, IIT Varanasi, earlier known as Banaras Hindu University. He has over more than 40 years of teaching experience. He received his BTech in mechanical engineering from Motilal Nehru National Institute of Technology, Allahabad. MTech and PhD in industrial and management engineering from IIT Kanpur. His areas of expertise and interest include quality control, Six Sigma, operations management, supply chain management, optimization, industrial engineering, etc. Today we are fortunate to have Professor A.K. Agarwal as a resource person here. So behalf of the St. Joseph Engineering College and the organizing team and behalf of all the participants, we welcome you, sir.
Very good afternoon to all of you. Thanks, Dr. Hari Vinod, for nicely introducing me to people. And thanks also to Dr. M. Sudhir for giving me this wonderful opportunity to talk to such learned audience. The way I'm planning to deliver the lecture, in case anytime any person has anything to communicate, kindly unmute and yes, you can raise your question. So we would like to have two-way delivery kind of thing. Okay, let me go ahead. So this is the topic. This is my background already covered. So if I look at this particular topic itself, the topic says like we are going to frame a research problem. So there are three keywords into it. And the one is framing, the other is research, and then the problem. And as we proceed further, we'll try to understand the meaning of each such term. Research is all about having right understanding about the words that we are using. So what is a problem? Anybody? Without wasting time, like maybe problem is something for which we right now we don't have a solution in our hand. In case we have a solution, then there's no more a problem. Like maybe this problem is solved. So we have solution. So problem is the one for which we do not have any solution right away itself. And then this another very interesting issue, particularly when you're working on a research, in case you do not have a research problem, that's a much bigger problem. So not having a problem is a big problem. So naturally, those people who are into the research, they have the problems and for which they do not have a solution, they need to be congratulated. But it's good that maybe you have a problem, but point is it a nice research problem? Many of the times, like maybe, yes, we are involved with...
Can you give the slideshow? Slideshow.
Maybe you're not seeing something which is appearing.
No. We are seeing your application, sir, not the slideshow.
Okay, not the slides. Not the slides.
So we can see all the slides actually in the minimum. Yeah.
Can you see the slide? Right now I'm with a slide.
No.
You can't see it. Just give me a minute.
Yeah.
Just give me a minute. And maybe I'll have to do something so that you can't see me, but my slides only.
You have to select the slideshow.
Don't worry. Just give me a minute. Just give me a minute. Still, can you see it or not? Like maybe not at all.
Please press F5.
No, I have done it. Don't worry me. It's like maybe I have attached with it to this thing. Let me take out one. Now,
can you press F5, sir? Can you press F5?
No, I'll do that. But can you see the screen?
Yeah. Screen we can see. Yes, now it is fine. Perfect.
Good. Very good.
Perfect.
So the other slides through which I have taken you, it was something like this: frame a research problem. And then maybe this is what we had talked about. Yes. Then problem and so on and so forth. This is what we have seen. Okay. Okay. So now let us come to this part. Do we have a right research problem? Having just a trivial problem, that will not suffice. In case you are talking of a problem, this problem should not be a kind of classroom exercise. It should be right research problem. Okay. Just give me a minute. Right research problem. Fine. Fine. So do you have a right research problem or not? For that, what you must have, you should have good amount of academic strength. And this academic strength will come from several things that you need to do also. And it is based on some objective consideration. Like you must read good number of articles, research papers, etc. You should, like once you have read it, something could be that maybe you have not understood the problem so well. You should go and meet the people, participate into conferences, workshop, etc. Do a lot of brainstorming. And particularly when you are the student and you are pursuing your PhD, then the doctoral committee that you have basically, or research progress evaluation committee, these are the kind of committees, they should take a very proactive kind of role. Maybe it shouldn't be the case that the student talks about something and the students are not given right kind of feedback. No, these committees must do their duty properly. So through doctoral committee or through RPEC also, a lot of brainstorming can go. Then one should also look into the research log, maybe go to your departmental library. You may find number of theses already done by your students or maybe by your colleagues, etc. Go through them, try to find out what is that they have done. And then most important thing, when you are going to be involved into the research, the area in which you are going to carry out the research, particularly the related subjects that are going to be involved, this is where you should have good understanding. Good understanding, when I'm saying, it should not be the case that you have learned certain techniques and so on and so forth without touching its soul. No, you know that how a problem can be solved, but the methodology that you're using to solve the problem, do you know the essence of it, its boundary, its limitation, those kind of things. So in case you have fundamental understanding, then you are ready with the research. Then what also is required, that you have necessary skill sets like modeling exercise, just last thing, and then maybe you can do a lot of analysis and so on and so forth. So you can also judge your academic strength by doing certain thing. Point is, can you really state the research problem? When I'm saying that stating the research problem, there are few things that you need to do. Do you really understand the purpose? Purpose, the larger issue. Why is it that maybe you want to solve this particular problem? And even if you have solved the problem, do you have the focus? There's a difference between purpose and focus. Similarly, there's a difference between necessity and importance. Purpose and focus, that can be understood. So for example, you want to have a get together. Fine, you want to throw away party, but what is the purpose of it? That's purpose of it. And maybe when you are going to meet together, what are the things that you are going to discuss? That so that maybe you have quality time spent with your friends or family members. So there is difference between purpose and focus. Similarly, necessity and importance. There's a difference. Food may be a necessity, but the salt, in case you do not add, the sugar you do not add, then what will happen? Sugar and salt by themselves, they are not the food, but they add a lot of value. So necessity and importance, rational, everything has to be well understood. Is that clear? So this part will require a lot of whys to be done. Is that clear? So in case you throw away these questions, why, basically, you will understand all this kind of thing. Then you have to identify the various stages for your research. Okay, first, what you have to do. Second thing, what you have to do, correct? What can be done in parallel and so on and so forth. You have to set up timelines. You have to prepare Gantt chart. you have to do it quite professionally. You have to do responsibility structuring, what you can do, where is it that you will require a lot of help from your supervisor, where is that you will require help from your lab staff, and so on and so forth. So maybe you have to set stages for your research. Then you have to describe issues and some problems to be addressed. See, like this. Generally, I have seen the people, instead of working on in one vertical, they start working into number of verticals. That's not the right kind of thing. You choose a vertical. This is where maybe you look into the major issue, and then later on you can work on sub problem itself. Like to give you an example, so for example, you have a process, and this process gets affected by environmental condition. Okay, so you want to study the effect of environmental condition onto your process. This is one major issue. And then what is sub problem? When you talk about environment, then you have something like ambience, then you have air, then you have water. Maybe then this is how you are coming to the sub problems. Okay, so you go to major issue, then maybe you look into the sub problems, etc. Don't create too many problems. Okay, then what is important to do is like this: when you are defining your research problem, try to see what are going to be independent variables and what are going to be dependent variables. Generally, the dependent variables are the performance measures. Dependent variables, some of the time, can be parameter to the system, or some of the time can be decision variables also. Decision variables also, correct? So, for example, you want to have like maybe a sheet for some application. What should be the thickness of the sheet? What should be the strength of the sheet? You may have a lot of variation there. Or there can be a case that, look, maybe I give you this sheet and then yes, how is it that you're going to do the job? In that case, this becomes totally independent. It's not a decision variable then. So again, you can judge your academic strength based on, can you create the hypothesis or the theory? When I'm talking about hypothesis, not necessarily this is statistical hypothesis. You create a kind of problem statement. Okay, you design a problem statement. You basically have some amount of conviction about what you consider to be true, but what you need to do, you need to prove it to be correct, or you have to say something so that you can prove that maybe it is correct also. So once you have given sufficient logic, etc., the hypothesis now becomes thesis. And there's nothing like hypothesis. Either it is hypothesis or thesis. But there are cases where like maybe you need not have a statistical hypothesis. So for example, like when you're doing behavioral study, something got related to do with the human behavior. So this is where we do not create, and in most of the cases, we do not create a statistical hypothesis. Typically, in case of exploratory research or phenomenological research, that's what we don't do. Exploratory, the area is totally new. Or like we are looking into some kind of concept, some behavioral aspect of a human being. What do we do? So we basically come with some kind of idea, and through inductive logic, we try to see whether what I'm thinking of is correct or incorrect. So then what is very important in case of your maybe research, that you should be in a position to define the limit of the research. And unless until you define the limit of your research, you cannot have a clear focus. Okay, you will keep on increasing the scope of your problem. Basically, you are going to increase the boundaries of the problem. Then you'll have too many verticals, and basically you are going to lose the kind of research problem which you want to address. This is a major problem that I have seen being faced by my student itself. So, like maybe one has to clearly understand the typical boundary the research has. Okay. And then what do you need to do? You need to define the key concept. Okay. Why it is very important when you're going to do like maybe brainstorming, when you're going to seek the opinion of others and so on and so forth, that person may not have your meaning of your domain specific terms. For example, when I talk about critical activity, and I talk about critical activity from engineering perspective, So for the running the engineering operation, what operations are most critical? That's how you look uh, at the activities, and that's how you define critical activities. But when you talk to people in the management, particularly who practice project management, for them the critical activities are those which will delay the project. So the meaning of the criticality changes in terms of the context. So same thing is true about many kinds of terms. So the term we use, it will carry different meaning in different contexts. So what is the meaning that you are carrying? Okay, you need to define it. Okay, the other important issue that is that you must do is literature review. Literature review, why it is very important? It ensures that you are not reinventing the wheel. You thought of a problem and you don't go back and look into the resource material. Then what happens? Later on, you will discover when you go for publication of your work, etc., then you may find that people will comment that, look, what you have done has already been done. Maybe, yes, you're talking about 2022. Probably this work has been done in 1960 itself. So doing literature review will avoid yourself from going into such kind of vicious circle. Then the other important thing is that when you're doing, it's a matter of academic discipline, academic strength, also academic culture, also that. Hello, so I'm getting some background noise. Do you have any question?
No, sir, it is a noise.
Sir, please continue.
Sir, you have to unmute.
Okay. So, did I discuss the second point? Okay, let me come to the third bullet point. So when you're doing the literature review, when you're reading good number of articles, then what happens? You become knowledgeable and you understand the theoretical and research issues related to your research problem. This is the added advantage when you do literature review. What happened? My screen is also locked. Okay, now. So then maybe, yes, it also enhances your ability to critically evaluate many issues, also related issues. So the other advantage of literature review is it basically builds in ability to integrate and synthesize the existing literature. Could be that the kind of problem that you are addressing, it is interdisciplinary in nature or transdisciplinary in nature. So what happens, like maybe related to your work itself, you bring out the material from different sources of different kind, and then you put them together in a very cohesive manner. So then how is it that the people have done it? In case you have done a lot of literature review, then you'll also understand, in case the work demands like maybe expertise from many discipline, how is it that maybe such papers are written? That kind of idea you'll also get, provided you do literature review. Then this concept is very powerful. It provides new theoretical insight also. When you are studying the studying the articles, etc., and you are studying it critically, then you should be in a position to identify the gaps. There will be several ideas which will come to your mind, and could be that the several ideas that come to your mind, and in case you jot it down and you start reading, then you'll find that could be that many of the ideas which have come to your mind, few of them have been addressed, not all of them. So like maybe you also get a lot of theoretical insight, and not only you get the theoretical insight, but also you get research direction. So when you do the literature review, it will basically convince yourself that the proposed research that you want to undertake, it will make a significant and substantial contribution to the literature. So basically, it will basically help in resolving an important theoretical issue or filling a gap in the research. Okay, as a student, when you're writing the literature review, or maybe when you want to write a section on literature review, when you wish to get a paper published, then what I have seen many of the times, people lack organization and structure. Like many of the times people they'll go through many papers and they'll start summarizing these papers going chronologically. That's not the right way. Some papers are focused on some area, the other papers are focused into some other area, and so on and so forth. So basically what you need to do, you organize all these papers properly and you make use of headings, subheadings, etc. quite frequently. And using that itself, you can have a proper structure given to your literature review. So that's the problem. Like maybe in case, like maybe you are not focused around what you want to say something, what is that maybe around a typical concept, what is that people have said. In case you do not have the focus, then maybe you'll pick up few of the papers and you'll start summarizing. And that basically that's not a right kind of thing. So some of the time people do not go through recent review papers or some papers which are quite influential. Now you have Google, all kinds of facilities. You can find out what is the best paper in a typical area. So you should not miss out the sight of those papers, highly referenced paper, and so on and so forth. So, and then maybe, yes, you read a paper, but point is, are you reading a paper critically? Can you identify its strength? Can you identify its weakness? In case you do it, then only you can say that you are critically evaluating the research articles. Then some of the time people like maybe take up some kind of paper from very low rating, low impact factor, or very trivial kind of paper, and that maybe this is where the people, so like maybe you'll not get the visibility. You can always do that kind of work, but will you get the visibility around the globe? That's where you'll have problem. Or some of the time, even you people must have seen, you ask your MTech maybe MTech student, PhD students. So instead of going through the literature themselves, they'll read some paper, and in that paper there'll be reference to some other paper itself, and whatever those people have, whatever the this author has said, okay, about those work, you'll find the people have simply copied it. That's not fair. Maybe one should go through the original article. In case you find it interesting, then go through the original article, go through it and try to see what is the essence of that paper. Some of the time you'll find that the person who has written the literature review, the article that you are referring to, could be that maybe he could not go to the soul of the paper itself, and he has written something wrong, and that same whatever wrong has been written there, and in case you believe in the secondary sources, then the same wrong thing you also copy in your work. That's not the right kind of thing to do. And then there are people who become repetitive. That should be avoided. Can you see the last line, like maybe, or hello?
Yes, sir, we can see.
Like maybe in my screen, I'm getting some command line, etc. I can't see the last.
No, sir.
If in case you are seeing, it's wonderful.
Yeah.
Okay. So for literature review, what to do? So I have talked about the problem. Now maybe now I'm talking of solution itself. So what should you do when you're writing the literature review? Please try to keep in mind that you're going to tell the story. How is it that you're going to tell the story? When you're telling the story, you are ensuring, and that's quite natural also, the people who are listening to your story, they're quite engaged with you. They don't want to leave you. They would like to go to the end of the story. Are we doing literature review in that manner? Is it stimulating, or is it going to engage the people? In case it is so, then your job is done. And what must be understood, you're not preparing a summary for yourself. Please, whatever you are writing, the thesis or your research paper, ultimately this is for outside world. And who are going to be people reading your article or thesis? Naturally, there'll be academician, researcher. And in case it is not engaging, it is not stimulating, then we'll get bored and will not like to read. And in case we do not read your literature review, how is it that we come to know that you have identified right kind of gap, and then the gaps you have identified are really genuine one, and so on and so forth? Probably I'll not be interested in your work and I'll not read it. So there'll be no visibility to your paper. So what is important, this issue I have already talked about. You have to create a framework, and that even before you write the literature review, create headings and then subheadings itself. The creation of headings, subheadings itself will basically is a part of your planning, and this helps you in your writing your literature, that review part, in a much better way, in a very structured form. Okay. The other thing is, when you are going to do the literature review, please try to highlight the strength of the published articles. And when you are trying to highlight the strength of the published article, do not forget to bring out important research direction not addressed by them. Okay, it shouldn't be that maybe as you just summarize the paper. No, you have to critically evaluate. Critically evaluate means don't simply like maybe bring out the deficiency, also highlight the strength and try to find out. Don't say that maybe these are the weaknesses. Say that yes, these are the kind of things which have not been addressed. So you'll now, that's how you'll find research gap. And then maybe after you have read an article, you find there are a number of issues which have not been addressed in that paper. Then the later paper that you start reading, then please try to see whether those issues which you found have not been addressed have been addressed by people later or not. In case it has not been, though some of these issues have not been addressed, then you come to know what needs to be addressed. So like you get the research direction. And in case you do it, it will basically help you in bringing out the research gaps in the area of your research. Okay. Then the research gaps that you identify, not necessarily that you are going to work on all the research gaps. No. Out of all the research gaps that you identify, please try to highlight in that paper or in your thesis, you are going to address which research gap. Be very specific. Correct? Now, let me come back to the other issue. So far, it was about problem, maybe, and now maybe the other issue is not having a problem for which no in-hand solution exists. So what do we do? What do we do? One thing is that maybe yes, in case you do not have any problem to start with, you are definitely many steps behind. Then what can you do? In case you are a student, then you have to depend upon your guide. And in case you are not active, you are not proactive, then you'll believe only in spoon feeding. And this spoon feeding, particularly for research, is a very bad proposition. And in case you believe in spoon feeding, then you'll have a poor learning. Then yes, the kind of amount of time that you are going to take to complete your research, that time required will be too high. And even if you complete the research, taking help of your supervisor, etc., point is, will you have that kind of confidence? Can you guide the work of others? Can you help the other research community? In case you have been so far spoon-fed, my experience is that you'll have a lack of confidence in taking up further research. And then what you should also do, that you should do a lot of literature review. Now, so this was all about problem. How is it that maybe you can work with your problem and whatnot? This is what has been addressed. Now let me come to the other key term, which is research. Research is what? So see, this word is made of, the primary word is search. And we know that search is nothing but discovering. And in case something which has already been searched, why is it that we are going to research it again? It has already been searched. Why are we researching? So we are searching once again. What could be the point? To find something better. That's the purpose. Or to find an improved knowledge or an optimized solution. So in case we go one step ahead, that's what we are trying to do. Then we are involved into research. So this is the typical meaning of research. So now we have understood the meaning of two terms, problem and research. Okay. So now let us try to understand the process of research. Process of research start with the research question itself, about which we have talked for a good amount of time. Once your question is well designed, then you design your research. And once you basically design your research, etc., do something, so that finally you are in a position to report your finding. So the process of research starts from framing the research question to reporting your results which are quite meaningful, in which the people will be interested. Okay. So when you're framing the research question, you have to put up number of questions. You should not only talk about what is fine, but why is it so? That is something very, very important. Okay, when is it that maybe a certain questions that you have, the same various steps that are involved, when are you going to address them? Is it that maybe for addressing those questions, you require some resources and those resources are available internally, or you have to go elsewhere? You have to go to National Physical Laboratory, you have to go to CSIR, or in case you are into marketing, you have to do maybe field research, and so on and so forth. In case you have to do, say, you have to do field work itself. How are you going to do it? So, for example, marketing people, are you going to conduct the interview, or you are going to take the input through questionnaire? All those kind of things has to be done. And in case you are going to do all this kind of thing, who are the people whose support is required? Or maybe in case I need to seek information, who are the people from whom I need to seek the information? All those things should be defined. So the whole process has to be taken in a very structured manner. Typically in Indian context, my experience is, and even I have gone through that kind of phase, that maybe these questions I started addressing towards after I have spent about a year or so while I was pursuing my PhD. Then I understood the importance of maybe yes, writing down this question, try to find out the answer to this question. And once I had the structure, then my job became very, very simple. So like maybe in case you create a kind of structure, then working with your research becomes very simple. You know maybe what are the things that are required to be done. You can set your milestones, everything quite nicely, and you can take time to time review, internal review itself. You don't have to ask for third party to do the review for you. No, you can do it yourself. And you can, by doing so, you can be more productive. So research question is something like, can we clearly state the purpose? Purpose is not, defining the purpose is very important. Not that maybe, yes, I'm going to do it. Like maybe I'll prepare 5 samples, I'll conduct like maybe, yes, tensile tests using instrument machine. No, that's not. Why are you going to conduct the tensile test? What makes you to maybe is it the tensile test, or is it that maybe you're looking for toughness, or is it that maybe you're looking for fatigue property? That maybe these are the kind of things you must understand. Okay, and the second thing again, I'm coming back to this point again. Even if you have a question, point is, can you address this question? The kind of strength you have, the kind of skill set you have, can you really work on that research problem? Don't take something very, very, very ambitious. In case you are not ready to acquire the related skills, in case you are ready, yes, take that challenge. In case you are not ready, then please do look into your strength, and then you decide, is it the right research problem for you? For you? In case you are a PhD student, please try to see what kind of strength you have. What is the kind of strength of your supervisor? In case all of you are capable, point is whether you have the facilities. In case you do not have the facilities, you have to depend upon somebody out, maybe within the country, but like maybe outside your institution, outside your lab. Yes, it will basically kill you. Remember, in this competitive world, people are moving at a very, very fast rate. Something which you have planned could be that somewhere in some corner of the world, people also must be planning to do something of that kind. And maybe some in those places could be that those facilities which are required by for your research are also available there. So by the time you go and maybe try to have access to that kind of facility, this man probably would have used that kind of facility. Probably the results are there, and so on and so forth, and this man will be ready with the publication. Okay, and all your effort that you have put in so far will simply go as waste. So do proper planning. Okay, and the third thing, which is very important, the research question that you have, does it emerge from a broader set of disciplinary or professional issues? If so, in case your problem requires like maybe interdisciplinary strength or transdisciplinary strength, please like maybe look into those aspects very, very carefully and try to start working on or try to collect those kind of information or try to collect try to have brainstorming session involving those kind of people right from day one. Otherwise you are going to have problem. The other thing is that is this question really researchable, either by you or at the place you are, same thing but said in a different way. The problem that you are framing, is the question very interesting or relevant and important? Is it that the research that you want to do is mundane, or it is a high value kind of item? In case it is having high value, you'll get a lot of visibility. Your work will be referred by many, many people. Okay. So this part, the last bullet point here, I've already talked about that. When you are framing the research question, please frame a single research question, develop through sub-questions, rather generate a collection of questions. Do not take too many questions coming from different verticals. That should be avoided. Maybe for different papers, you take one question at a time, not maybe all the questions at the same time. Now, let me talk about various kinds of research. The researches that you carry out, it can be descriptive in nature, can be analytical, can be applied, can be fundamental, can be quantitative, can be qualitative, can be conceptual, can be empirical, can be exploratory, or can be phenomenological. See, it's like this. There's nothing like that. Maybe a particular research will fall into one category. You can have a descriptive research, and at the same time, it can be qualitative. You can have analytical result. It can be empirical or can be applied also. Are you getting the point? You can have different combinations. So the same research can fall into a number of categories. Now let us see what gets defined by descriptive research. Descriptive research, basically, we are doing surveys and fact-finding inquiries. Typically, marketing research people do something like this. They'll have a lot of questionnaire design, and then through that questionnaire, they'll try to find out frequency of shopping, preference of people, etc., etc. Basically, they try to find out what is the state of affairs. Okay, at that, and then maybe some of the time, they try to collect the data, what exists at present or what has occurred in the past. Okay, so in case you look into what has happened in the past, you try to find out why this has happened and so on and so forth. Basically, you are involved into descriptive research, and this is where the researchers has no control over the variables. There are no variables at such itself. You are doing basically post-mortem, that's all. But when you're doing the post-mortem, as it happens in case of post-mortem, you not only notice the injury, but this injury must have been caused by what? You also come to know of it. So in this process also, you may discover different causes. So now you understand the relationship between cause and effect. And then it becomes a new knowledge. Like maybe in case you have a scenario like this kind of scenario is going to result into a situation like this. Now it's a new knowledge. And that because of that region, now maybe descriptive research, maybe this kind of thing that you have done is also research. So descriptive research will be survey methods of all kinds, including comparative and correlational methods. Now coming to analytical research, this is where you have to do a lot of analysis. So researcher has to use fact or information which is already available, or maybe it's a data which is already available. Okay, you can do a lot of data mining and so on and so forth. Or in case the data is not available, okay, you generate the data through experiment. Once you have the data, then you try to analyze the data, and based on that, you basically come with the critical evaluation. Okay, basically analytical research is nothing but something like what if analysis. What if analysis? In case the situation changes from this to this, what is going to happen? Now applied research, very simple. In case you have any societal problem, industrial problem, and that problem you are working upon, then you are involved into applied research. Something like this could be that maybe somebody is interested. How is it that the PVC material can be converted into biodiesel? Now you are looking for an application. So you are into applied research. Fundamental research, maybe application is not there in your mind, definitely. Okay. For the sake of solving some societal problem, you're not working. You have some idea and you would like to see whether that idea that you have, can it be generalized with the formulation of a theory, etc. So you are basically into a pure research or basic research. The pure research, basic research, or the fundamental research that you carry out, basically it will have information, and that will basically generate many further researches. So it will have broad base of application and add to already existing organized material. Is that clear? Pure research. Applied versus fundamental. Fundamental is concerning some natural phenomena related to, say, for example, pure mathematics itself, fundamental research. So research studies concerning human behavior carried on with a view to make generalization about human behavior. This is again a fundamental research. Like most of the people who are in this area of psychology, industrial psychology, and so on and so forth, they also do a lot of fundamental research. Applied research, we have already talked about that. Okay, we have to have societal or problem in our mind, business problem into our mind, and so on and so forth. The third qualification, classification was quantitative versus qualitative research. As the name suggests, in case of quantitative research, you are going to deal with the data, correct? And in case of qualitative research, you will be dealing typically with qualitative information. Quantitative research is based on the measurement of quantity or amount and is applicable to phenomenon that can be expressed in terms of quantity. Like all the scientific experiments that you carry out, you have quantitative research. Qualitative research, this is what you'll find typically, this kind of research mostly being carried out by people in language, literature. They do a lot of qualitative research. So, for example, somebody may say, what was the condition of women in the era of Shakespeare? Basically, what has been said by Shakespeare, go through the related literature of Shakespeare itself, try to find out what kind of opinion this the great poet Shakespeare had about the women at that time. So this is basically qualitative research. And so, sorry, something has gone wrong. Quantity, yes. So it deals with qualitative phenomena related to or involving quality or kind. For instance, investigating the reasons for human behavior, motivational research. So whether you do in-depth interview or through questionnaire, you try to get the information, basically you are doing qualitative research. Then something like conceptual, and then something like empirical. Conceptual is related to some abstract idea or theory and is carried out by philosophers and thinkers to develop new concept or to reinterpret existing one. You are doing basically the conceptual study. Why is that the people are get dejected or go into depression? You are doing, like, maybe philosophers think about it, what after life, and so on and so forth. So you're involved into conceptual research. Empirical or experimental research, no. You conduct experience, and based on that observation itself, you report your finding. Like the Ohm's law itself. Ohm's law is not like law of probability. Ohm's law is a law, not based on not something, not stated the way you state the probability. Maybe people have conducted the experiment, they try to see the relationship. In case you vary the voltage across a resistor, how is it that the amperage changes? Now you are studying basically the variation in amperage with respect to voltage. Okay, then you are coming with some knowledge. Okay, this is nothing but experimental research. So empirical and experimental research, what do you need to do? You always start with a working hypothesis, or maybe you guess the probable result. You feel that probably the result should be of this kind. Then you accordingly create your hypothesis, and then accordingly you create your experiments. You design your experiments accordingly. Then set up experimental design involving concerned persons or materials for the desired information. So you should have fair idea about the probable result. Based on that, you will be creating working hypothesis. Accordingly, then you will set up experimental design, find out the people, material, etc., etc. After you have done it, then you get to work to find out the fact or the data. And this data that you have, it will basically support your hypothesis, or it may disapprove the hypothesis. In case this hypothesis that you've created gets disapproved, then this is a knowledge. You also tell the people that, look, maybe this is how the things do not work, rather it works the other way. So this research is appropriate when proof is sought, when
Sir, you have muted. Please unmute.
okay.
Okay, thank you.
This bar that I'm getting is creating problem. Like, I do not know how to get rid of it anyways. So, okay, now it's okay. I
Yes.
can be heard.
Yes, sir. Yes.
Okay, fine. Okay. The last classification is exploratory or phenomenological research. Like, what is exploratory? As the name suggests, you are going to explore. You don't have much idea. The field in which you want to do the research, not much work is available. Then what do you do? So in case of exploratory research, what you do, usually create a scope for future research, and future research may have conclusive design. Like for what? For example, a study into the implication of COVID-19 pandemic into the global economy. How do you look at this problem? It's quite an open-ended problem. People may have different views. Yes, people are trying to explore into this kind of a study from different perspective. So maybe when you're taking a problem of this kind, you are into exploratory research. This exploratory research, some of the time you'll find, is also called as explanatory research. Explanatory research. Here what happens, in case of exploratory research, you try to explore why something has occurred. And why something has occurred, when you are trying to look for the information, then that information which is available is quite limited. But nonetheless, you use your expertise, you use your background, the limited information, and then you come with some kind of opinion, some kind of conclusion. And in case you do it, basically you are trying to help to increase understanding of a given topic. Okay. In case of phenomenological research, you are looking, how is it that a particular phenomena is going to work? It can be qualitative, it can be descriptive. So in case of phenomenological research, you may have both kind of situation. You may have good amount of data already in place, or you may not have. In case you do not have, then maybe it will be more like exploratory research. But in case of exploratory research, again, you're not very sure of what phenomena is going to work. But in case of phenomenological research, you are sure about certain phenomenon. And you're trying to basically study or hypothesize the degree of the effect that it can cause. That's what you do. So now we have tried to learn about maybe research, then we have learned about problem, correct or not? Now the first term, framing the research problem. So we have gone into the reverse direction. First, framing research problem. Problem we address first, then research, then now we are coming to framing word. So what is a frame? Look at this figure. This is what is called frame. This whole thing is called frame. Why this frame is required? Maybe this picture was already there, okay? But this picture, when you put into a frame, it gets a shape, it gets a structure. So when you frame it, why do you frame it? To provide proper shape and also to hold or support something valuable. Like you may have bicycle frame, you can have your spectacle, you can again have a frame, you can have picture frame. And in case, what happens? In case you do not provide basically frame to your artwork, what will happen? You know that it will not be presentable. This picture will not be presentable. It will have poor light. Not only that, it will have less of worth also. Right? So now you understand the importance of framing. So let us see what happens when I'm talking about framing here. So framing picture frame that you have and the research frame that you have, what is the kind of analogy that you can see? See, the picture that you have is basically the hypothesis or your problem. Hypothesis, the problem. Behind the picture, you will find typically there is a back cover. And this back cover is nothing but your literature review. Literature review, it basically supports your problem. And the framing material that you have, the side frames, etc. Okay, that wooden frame that you use, it is nothing but introduction. See, the back cover, it gets supported to picture by using nails. And these nails are nothing, your analysis that you have done. And in the front, you'll have of this picture frame glasses. And glasses are nothing but the results and conclusion. So what happens, like maybe through results and conclusion, you try to look into the problem. And then there's something in the backup, like your literature review, then your framing material. It is also something very interesting. It makes your presentation very, very meaningful. So in case you have given nice introduction, etc., yes, people will love it. So this is what all I had to say about framing the research problem. So thank you very much. In case you have any question, you can come back to me. Dr. Mulidhar, so Dr. Sudhir.
Yes, sir.
So in case there are questions, please.
Yeah. Participants, if you have any questions, you can unmute and speak. Also, you can put it in the chat box.
It will be better in case you can speak it out.
Yeah. If at all it is put in the chat box, I will speak, sir. I will read it.
So Dr. Sudhir, even you can add some value. Like maybe you may also tell something to the participant. You are quite a knowledgeable person. You have earned your doctorate degree itself. You can also add your comments.
Sir, there is a question. How many years paper should we refer for writing the literature review?
I'll say go it otherwise. Look for the recent research papers. Maybe just say, for example, like maybe ask the person, like he is from which area? Which area? Mechanical engineering, what is the kind of area? Maybe thermal engineering, fluid engineering, like maybe then I can give him a befitting reply. Okay, but my take would be that maybe go through the recent papers itself, start reading. Then you'll find when you're reading the paper, some knowledge this person would be using, referring to some other paper. In case you are comfortable, then it's fine. Otherwise, go back, try to collect that paper, start reading it, and so on and so forth. This is how you should trace back. You should not start from very, very old paper, then you come to the forefront. No, go otherwise. Read the recent research paper. That will give you the idea where the people are focusing. Okay, and you should also be one of them. That will be my suggestion.
Any other questions? Participants, please.
What the presentation was very bad. There are no questions. It could not arouse any interest in the audience. Or was it so simple, like everybody well understood? So, Dr. Sudhir, in case there are no questions, we will leave also.
Sir, one more question.
Please.
How to limit number of references?
There should not be any limit. Like maybe look at it goes, you do it objectively. Just for increasing the number of papers that you are referring to, okay, you should not increase the list. I have already told you, when you are writing this literature review part, you have to be quite focused. You have to make your story very interesting. If you create unnecessarily too many papers, and in case you are not in a position to bring out something good for the audience, then the whole purpose of literature review will be lost. But in case you are adding something and that is bringing more value to it, then you should include. It's like this: when you're preparing vegetable at home, what are the different spices that are to be used? Maybe for some vegetable, you'll add 1 or 2 spices. For some other dish, you may add maybe few more, and then maybe some other dishes, probably you'd like to use many more. And like Dr. Sudhir, you come from Mangaluru itself, and you live in a state which is quite famous for spices itself. So like, even though you have all kind of spices, but you don't use all kind of spices in all kind of dishes. Am I correct?
Yes, sir. Yes.
It is the context which will decide. So don't go by the number itself. When you do the literature review, you will find that people have just given 4 or 5 references itself. But say, when you are in the field of exploratory research, how do you find maybe good number of articles? You do not find. But when you're into descriptive research, this is where you'll find lot many research papers being referenced.
Participants, you can unmute and speak.
Sir, I have one question, sir.
Please.
Sir, when we say we have to identify a research problem,
Yes, please.
when we say identify a research problem, now the emphasis is on what is the end use of the research or the outcome of the research. Now we hear a lot about identifying the problem which will give solution to the problems related to society or industry, like that.
That is in case of applied research, but not necessarily that you have to be into applied research. You are a academician. You can conduct basic research, pure research, fundamental research. Not necessarily you have to do experimental research. You can do all kinds of things.
Okay. Now, some of the problems are like, or the goals that are set, for example, United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. Now, if we work towards achieving that goal, for example, the clean water or the no poverty, all those things, these problems, if a researcher takes up, it's all multidisciplinary. And with the one domain knowledge, it is not possible to find a solution.
Very good. Correctly said. Like, maybe then you understand that maybe your work is transdisciplinary. At least you have understood. So in case your work is transdisciplinary and you want to come out with the right kind of research, then what you need to do? In case you find that you know that, yes, your work is transdisciplinary, then which are the disciplines involved into it? At least you should be clear about it. And then once you have identified the disciplines from where you need the expertise, try to contact the related people, try to get the expertise in those kind of areas, try to read the related literature, maybe research papers, etc. That's what you need to do. Many of the times people take an ambitious problem without understanding its boundary. This is where the problem is. You are good that maybe you are identified, or you could say very clearly that your problem is transdisciplinary in nature. That's fine. But again, when you say that your problem is transdisciplinary, point is you would like to include into your research several disciplines or maybe few of the disciplines. Say, for example, you may have a causal relationship. You have an effect, and that effect can have relationship with number of causes. So instead of maybe studying the impact of those causes, all these causes on the effect, probably you would like to see the impact of 1 or 2 such causes on your effect side, instead of making your problem highly ambitious. Is that clear? So like, maybe say, for example, a problem has n causes. So you work on cause number 1, later on you yourself work on cause 2, and so on and so forth. Once you have mature data, then combined together itself, you can take up the research itself. You can have maybe, yes, a holistic view of the problem. But to start with itself, in case you take the holistic view, then probably the lead time will be too high. And you will not be in a position to do something meaningful in given amount of time. Otherwise, also you'll be going systematically itself. So, for example, you say that maybe water affects the quality, air affects the quality. So first time you will see how is it that the water is going to affect the whole thing. The second time you say, how is it that the air is going to affect the whole thing, and so on and so forth. Next time, maybe you see the combined effect of the 2 on your effect side. This is how you should proceed.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
There is one more question.
Please.
How to identify the key terms?
Key terms. Who is the person? Like, maybe
No,
can I connect with this gentleman? Can I connect with the gentleman?
I mean,
Key
uh,
is like this.
sorry,
It's like this.
how to keep the strong keywords for extensive literature, sir? That is what the actual.
Keywords is like this. Many of the times what happens is like this. Dr. Sudhir, even you must have noticed, even while guiding BTech project, MTech thesis or doctoral thesis itself, the people have done something. Okay, people have framed some research problem when it comes to writing the research gap, etc., and then the scope of the work. When you go to subsequent chapters, then you find the person has started working on something else. And when you look at the title of the thesis, then you find that the title of the thesis is at variance from what the scope of the research and the work that you have done. Why is this kind of problem has come? Because you did not bother to understand the meaning of those terms, which basically make the title of your paper or title of the thesis itself. So whatever terms you are using, please try to have a right definition in your mind. And once you have right definition in your mind, then you'll see that yes, everything you'll find in proper place. And from that perspective, I'm saying that yes, you should have right definition for each of the word or
Okay,
each of the
sir.
key concept.
Thank you. Any other questions, participants? You can unmute and speak.
There are 144 participants. If anyone having any questions to interact with the professor, you can unmute yourself and you can ask, or you can type in the chat box. It seems no questions. Yes,
Yeah.
Dr. Harivinod, can you summarize and
Yeah. So thank you, sir, your wonderful session on how to identify the research problem. Let me summarize your presentation. Started with how to identify the right problem, judging the academic strength, literature review, in particularly how it should be strong enough to, how to select the strong or strength of a particular paper and highlighting it. What are the different gray areas which we are not supposed to focus on? You have also mentioned about the process of the research, particularly the research, what, why, when, all these questions, how to find out the answers for these questions, then the research design, reporting it. You also mentioned about some of the research types, the applied and fundamental, quantitative, qualitative, exploratory, phenomenological, etc. So you also finally you have concluded with what is the need for the framing the research problem and how it is useful for us. So definitely for the research fraternity, your session is very much useful. So behalf of the St. Joseph Engineering College and the organizing committee, and behalf of all participants, so thank you very much, sir.
It was my pleasure talking to maybe these good number of participants. Thank you very much for giving me a patient hearing. Thank you. Have a good day.
Thank you, sir.
So I'm signing off. Dr.
Yeah,
Speaker, I'm signing off now.
yes, thank you very much, sir.
So I take this opportunity and the privilege to thank all participants who actively participated in all 5 days of the FDP on the academic writing. More than, of course, we received more than 380 registrations. However, we can find around 200 plus active participants and around average of 180 participants per session each day or each time. We received the active participation from more than 50 plus institutions all over India, starting from the University of Jammu, HKBK University, IIS deemed to be university, and many NITs and all the engineering most of the colleges from the one or two representation from most of the colleges we have seen. So more than 50 plus institutions representations we have seen in this particular FDP. So definitely it is a motivation for us. So your active interaction during the sessions really helped us and to gain more knowledge. So thank you one and all, each and everyone participants. I also thank all the principals and the managements of all the institutions for supporting you to join here. I also take this opportunity to thank the management of St. Joseph Engineering College for providing us the opportunity to conduct this particular FDP in the online mode. We thank our principal, Dr. Rio D'Souza, Director, Reverend Father Wilfred Prakash D'Souza, Assistant Director Alvin D'Souza for wonderful support. I also take this opportunity to thank our Dean of Research and Development, Dr. Sudhir Hem, who is also the convener of this particular FDP, for identifying the resource persons, noting the exact resource persons and identifying them and making the sessions more useful. So thank you, Dr. Sudhir sir, for your active participation. So I thank once again all the participants, all the organized committee members for helping us. Thank you one and all. Sudhir sir.
Yes, sir. Few note to the participants. Dear participants, we have taken utmost care in identifying the resource persons who are very much knowledgeable in the different topics related to the FDP, academic writing. My wholehearted thanks to all the participants for registering and actively participating. All the videos what we have recorded will be made available in the SJEC, that is our college YouTube channel, within a week, and all of you will be informed about the same. Certificates will be ready within a week and it will be emailed to you all. Resource persons